This is the demo video for H2 Work Cycle 3 Sprint 2 and includes work completed between May the 27th and today, which is June the 9th, 2021. Among the work that was completed during this sprint, the team was able to address another 12 user feedback tickets from our beta testing. They also have been making such good progress that they were able to address 16 tickets that were not originally included in the work slated for the initial release. So great job, team. The team has also continued work on the migration of content from Hydrus to H2, as well as on a number of small text and display fixes and quite a few user interaction tweaks and refinements. I'm not going to be showing a lot of these things to you because there are a lot of them and there isn't time in the video. I'm going to try to focus my time today on some of the bigger, more obvious kinds of things. So the first thing I want to mention is actually something I can't show you, which is that we have implemented a regular check to make sure that files that are in our storage are attached to works, and if they aren't, then we get rid of them. This is an effort to sort of keep our storage tidy so that if people have uploaded files and then deleted draft objects that those files were part of, that we go back and clean up the files as well. Another thing we've done is added a link on our terms of deposit modal to an FAQ. So Hannah Frost and Mimi Coulter and I, with the assistance of the Office of General Counsel, have put together this FAQ about our terms of deposit to help our users understand it better. And we have now included a link to that FAQ at the top of the terms of deposit modal. So that's available on every page. Another thing you can see here on the dashboard is that collection titles that appear in the approvals table are now linked to those collections. So that was a link that was notably missing on the page before. Another thing that you'll notice as I scroll down here is that in this Your Collections section of the dashboard, all the collections that appear here now appear in alphabetical order. So previously they tended to reorder themselves. The ones you had looked at most recently, I think, reordered to the bottom of the screen, the bottom of the list, and this constant reordering of things was confusing people during beta testing. So that is something that is now static. So they're alphabetical and they always stay in alphabetical order. We did manage to include several additional admin features for this table as well in this particular sprint. So we've now added a column for reserved pearls in collections, so that's easy for us to see which of these pearls are reserved. And the columns in this table are now all sortable, which is great. The last point is that if the total number of objects in a collection is greater than 0, then that number is hyperlinked to the full deposits list for that particular collection. So let's look at a couple of things on a collection page, on the collection form. So now if you are versioning a collection, you'll see this same what's changing element here in the UI as you do when you're versioning items. So unlike in Hydrus, we are now officially versioning collections when we make changes to them in H2, and we wanted to be able to include this what's changing UI element here. So you'll see that there. The other thing is that we've added validation for related links, and this is true on both the collection pages and on the item deposit forms as well. So previously, if you entered, many people would actually enter URLs this way into the forms, and these generated improper URLs on the Perl pages that would produce 404 errors. So now when you do this and you try to deposit it, you actually see that I get the error message up here because I haven't filled in this what's changing element. But also down here it tells me that URLs must begin with HTTP or HTTPS. So now if I type that in correctly, it validates. So that's going to be really nice because no one likes broken links on their pages. So let's now check out a couple of things on an item page. Here, one of the nice new features that we've added is that If a user attempts to upload a file with the same name as a file that's already been uploaded, they receive an error message that tells them that a duplicate file was uploaded and which one it was. Another thing you'll see is, if I upload another file, that now when you upload a file, you'll see that there's a persistent check mark here next to the file upload to let you know that it's uploaded properly. Previously, there was a little green check mark that appeared over here in the description box, and then it would go away after a second or two. So if you scrolled away and then back to this, it wasn't always clear that the file had properly uploaded. So now you'll see the check mark like this. When you say this and come back to it, the file upload appear this way with the green check mark on the left. One of the most exciting features that has been added during this sprint is the ability to reorder authors on a work. So before, and currently in Hydrus, if you have a long list of authors and you realize that Justin Littman here should have been first, then you have to delete all of these authors and re-enter them in the proper order. There's no way to reorder them once they're there. But now you can click on these arrow keys to move the authors around so that they are in the proper order. Some of you might wonder why we did not implement a drag and drop kind of implementation, which is very common on the web. And the reason is that this particular implementation is better for accessibility than the drag and drop is. A couple of more quick things. One is that I mentioned that we've done a lot of small updates. A number of these blue tooltips had minor changes to their text updated. But the work types one I wanted to point out because we previously had a very large block of text in here and it described requirements for a variety of different situations depending on which work type you had chosen. We've split that out, so now it's smarter. So if you've chosen music as your work type, you see the tooltip text that is specific for music, and the same for mixed materials and for other. All the other work types have the same help text, and that's the help text that you see here. So 6 of them are like this, and the other 3 have their own special help information, and those now display appropriately, and instead of showing all of them together and forcing the user to try to sort out which thing is appropriate for their given situation. The other thing that we've done is to change the form field validations so that they occur all at the same time. So previously we had these set up so that some of them were running on the server side and some on the client side, which meant that if you had a number of different errors on your page, some of them would show up in the first batch of error checking and you'd have to fix those. And then if you had some errors that only show up in the second batch of error checking, then now you would have new errors show up in fields that you hadn't touched. And this was fairly confusing for our users. So form field validations are now all occurring at the same time. So those are my updates for this particular sprint, for Sprint 2 of Work Cycle 3. I will see you back in 2 more weeks for the final updates from the end of the work cycle. Thanks.